Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA. I'm KISMA, and today's episode is called The Chaos Buster. We're going to bust through and resolve that chaos in our lives, people. We're ready. Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Hello there, Nick.
Hey there, KISMA.
What's going on? Chaos.
Chaos, yeah.
We're recording this in, I don't know what week.
What month?
What is today?
We know it's 2020 because 2020 has been weird.
It's 2020, that year that was supposed to be so great. We're still opting for great.
Yeah.
Just the chaos got thrown in.
It just got super weird. Yeah.
It got super weird. We're still in lockdown and that's our phrase. We know we're not really locked down. We're everyone. I just don't want to have to explain it, but it's here. It's here. I do want to give a shout out. I think it's very important to give a shout out to all of our frontline people, our medical workers, our healers, our police officers, anybody out there doing what you're doing. Thank you. And I pray and meditate for this planet every single day. So I think it's important to send that loving energy their way whenever we can.
Yeah, super deep appreciation. Mm-hmm. Really profound.
It is profound. And I know we're trying to keep things focused and light and prosperous here. And I also want the sensitivity and to ask everyone, I know my students are out there praying and meditating for the planet, but if you're ever wondering if there's something you can do, the prayer and meditation works. So with that, the chaos that has ensued, as Moira would say from Schitt's Creek.
Should we talk about Schitt's Creek at a certain point? We really should. It was such a great show.
It was such a great show. Yeah. We'll come back to it. It was so good.
Well, speaking of prosperity, I don't know of too many bigger prosperity killers than chaos.
It is a big one. Goes against divine order.
Yeah, chaos in the inside, and it's just like all of a sudden. That's when in prosperity and money, that's when it's like your money just disappears. It comes and you're like, what happened to all of that?
Right.
That's when you've got some chaos in your life.
Well, I look at it this way: chaos creates a bunch of open loops where the energy, and we often choose, believe it or not, everyone, we often choose to create chaos because either we're in fear, and if we're in fear, we'll go into doubt and into confusion, and confusion is a quick zip up to chaos. And some people will create chaos in order to create order again.
Yeah, people will definitely do that. It's yes, I would like to talk about that in more depth.
We'll have you talk about that in more depth. But again, when the chaos is happening, it's like, throw spaghetti all over the walls, throw your energy all over the walls, throw your energy everywhere, and you get lost in it. And whatever vision, whatever focus is deterred is diminished.
Yes.
Because it's just everything is in a swirl.
Yep, that's right. Actually, I'm just going to dive right in with tip number 1.
Okay.
Be open to the idea that you have created chaos.
No one loves hearing that.
No,
I like how you put it. Just be open, everyone.
Be open to the idea.
There's a possibility.
To entertain the idea that, and really with true curiosity, I wonder if I might not have created some chaos here.
Right.
When you see it in your life, just be open to the idea. I'm not saying you have to own it right away or anything. I'm just saying be curious about that.
Well, here's the really cool thing about it. If you created it, guess what else you can do?
You can solve it.
Right. So
exactly.
Tip number 1 is to be open to the idea that you might have created it.
Yeah, just start to entertain that. How does it show up in your world? I'll ask you, KISMA.
How's it show up in my world?
Yeah, but that's chaos? A question for the listeners. Start to look at how does chaos show up in your world?
I would say in my world at a very high functioning level.
You're like a high functioning chaotic.
It's like, I am so good at covering up chaos, guys. Expert. I would say I'm really good at covering up chaos because I go, right? Like I got my schedule, I got my clients, I got the content I'm creating, like I go. So chaos, when I know there's chaos there, it's when I start to worry. When I go into places that I teach not to go into, because all of a sudden I'm not deep in my vision. I'm in probably a lot of other people's vision. And for my world, that creates chaos. So it's like this insidious kind of low fever chaos, but it can really pull me out fast.
Do you see it in places, like physically see it in your environment at certain times?
It'll be in my head. It'll be in my head. Not because you know me, I'm like Miss Order and High Alchemy. So I might, no.
It doesn't creep in anywhere.
Oh, well, where do you think it creeps in?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would.
Sounds like you're saying it like you know.
I would never out you on that. But when there's chaos inside, there's chaos outside, usually somewhere, and it shows up in different ways, subtle ways. Like for somebody with you who's got like an order driver. Fatigue. Okay.
Fatigue. It'll show up. It might show up in, maybe I eat too much chocolate cake. Like I'll do things to try and bring it back in order in ways of that. Watch too much Schitt's Creek.
There's never too much Schitt's Creek, by the way.
Yeah, no, I think it's, it really is it'll be in my head and then into the lack of physical energy.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's the open loops, it's the list with, or 5 lists for that matter, that, it's like part of them are checked off and then part of them are in this list and then things haven't been moved to that list. And then there's another list and there's a lot of like all the open loops that's where I start to see them like that. And then little, just little things that you forget to do start to get a little bit neglectful around certain things.
Yeah.
And laziness starts to set in.
I would say we're opposite. I would say I see that where you call it laziness, whatever you do. I think I go into hyperactivity. I think I go into hyper doing where I would be better off if I just, which is what I work on now. Like I'm putting time on my schedule that says soul time and it's blocked off and I'm not allowed to schedule in there.
That's really cool. Yeah. You're right. It's 2 sides of the same coin though. Because like lazy, a lot of busy, really busy and, rather productive people would never consider themselves lazy, but they have mental laziness.
And holding the flame.
It's finding those little places where it starts to creep in, where you start to let things slip. That's how chaos starts. It doesn't, usually things don't just blow up all at once. They've been slipping.
Cause and effect.
They've been slipping in little ways for a while, and it started to slip and it started with one small thing and then another small thing. And then before you know it, chaos. You look around and you're like, whoa, chaos.
We look at how chaos happened with this virus. It started in whatever, we don't know. I don't know. But it started somewhere.
Yeah.
And then to another person and then several people, like, it's contagious. That's the other thing is that chaos can be contagious if we're not careful.
Yeah, well, that's why it's a really great means of manipulation and control.
Talk about that.
Well, you see it in unhealthy dynamics in relationships where like one person will create chaos so that they can save everybody else. Right. So you create chaos or you create a problem, create drama. Let's go with the drama queen. Okay. So, or drama king, whatever, a drama Moira.
Love her.
So they create a bunch of drama. Everybody else is confused. They're like, what is going on right now? And then the person steps in to fix all the drama that they created. And they're like, oh yeah, I saved the day. Right. But all the while, like, inadvertently, they're actually like pulling the strings because they're creating the chaos that's sending everybody into a tailspin. Everybody's in a tailspin. So then they're in control and then they're the one that takes control of the situation. Right?
That's a great example. I see that when I work with clients with their money. It's like, how far down can my money go so that I have to like hustle and bring it in and lift my business.
Yeah.
And so part of adjusting that is really like, I call it the energetic minimum of raising that energetic minimum. No. Like that's an old paradigm. That's an old way of being, and get certain and then bring it in. No, raise that energetic minimum so it becomes more steady.
Yeah.
And you don't need chaos. You don't need something to implode in order to go out and make sales or get your next job or whatever it is you're doing. You're doing it healthily and steadily.
Yeah. Yeah. It starts with one small thing.
One small thing.
And we start to create chaos. Chaos in the body, is unhealth, dis-ease.
Dis-ease.
Yeah.
In so many different ways. What is it that we can do when that one small thing starts to have that awareness of where it's going and how to not allow it go there?
It's right. It's righting the ship right away. Really. I was talking with a client, and it was genius on this client's part to reach out when they did to say, like, I've noticed this and this. I've been sleeping. And I said, awesome that you reached out, because here's what you need to do. And it was the start of those little things.
Right.
And she caught it. Right. And this is the cool part, and was able to take some actions to really start to clean it up. And I got a message, I think it was a few days later too, of like, whoa, there was a lot more than I thought. And that's usually the case.
That's usually the case, right? There's more there than we think.
Yeah. When you start to do it, when you really start to clean it up, and that's how you know, like, oh, this is something that's been happening,
Right.
It just seems like the bomb blew up, right? All at once.
And then we get real victim-y. It happened to me. I can't believe this happened.
But that's really never the case. It is, it took time to create that circumstance, and then for it all to shift. And what happens is, like, one thing tips it, and then you become aware.
Right.
So she was the cause. Like, this is a really important lesson there to me, is she was the cause of writing it, because she became aware to it early on. Most times we don't.
Yeah.
Like, you go back to my cheese episode.
Right.
I didn't see it, but I made total chaos in my health, which rippled out into different areas of chaos in my life.
So many different for so long.
Yeah, the time that hummingbird yelled at me.
Yeah.
That was a whole other story, but the hummingbird yelled at me, and man, it woke me up to some things. Yeah.
Interesting. Here's a question. So we can observe and know when we are creating it in our own lives. Now, and of course, some of our podcasts around karma and cause of effect, I think we can revisit that again. When something like this event globally happens, or when there's chaos around us in the world, we know, again, cause and effect, we're all part of it. What tips do you have for when you're in the chaos that appears to be not directly created by yourself?
Well, yeah, that's right. So that's a really cool question, actually. Like, we're living within a context of a chaotic situation. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to live in chaos. Right? We're living in the context of that, but you don't have to live in a chaotic way in your life. Right. Right. And that's where a lot of people, I think, get turned upside down, because they're like, well, this is just going all around me. So, and they get swept into that collective. And it's like, no, that can be happening there, and you can be existing within order in that. Yeah. There is a super cool video out there somewhere. I couldn't find it before we recorded the episode, but it goes through like orders of magnitude in the universe, and it shows like this order. It alternates between order and chaos and order and chaos. Like, at this level of magnification, you'll see total chaos. It's like, what is that? It makes no sense. But then you zoom in a little bit further, and it's like you see the order within it. And then you zoom in a little bit further, and there's more chaos. And you zoom a little bit further, and there's order. And it just goes like that from the extreme small to the extreme huge. It's just amazing. Well, anyway, I'll try to find it. I'll do my best. But it's understanding that we can exist in order and have that in our lives, no matter what's going on around us.
I love that.
Yeah. So to answer your question, like, one of the first things that they gave great advice right out of the bat is like, stick to your routines, right? Remember, that was one of the public service, things, like, try to stick to your regular routines.
Wine.
Finish your wine. Finish Schitt's Creek. Yeah. Finish Homeland. Anyway, it's finding and creating routine. Yeah. Right. You don't have to be overly rigid or militant with it, but you do need to have that in your life. And that was one of the first things to go for people when this happened was, okay, now my kids are at home. I'm trying to work from home. My partner's trying to work from home. Like, everybody's stuck in the same place. Like, we can't get any toilet paper. Like, all these things converged, and it just created total chaos in their lives. And routine is one of the things that allows you to start to take back some control to that. And really relevant, self-care routines, right?
For sure.
Things to center yourself, to get grounded, deep breathing, to make sure that your body is being fed and all the systems are moving and everything like that, exercise, regular eating or eating healthy, sticking to those things. Creating that sense of routine is really, really powerful. So, and that involves commitments. Now, the biggest mistake I see people make, and definitely the biggest mistake I've made myself, is, okay, I see that some things are going off the rails here. I'm going to do all the things and I'm going to fix it all. Right. So here's my new routine. It's just like 10 pages of stuff, and it's like this whole big long list. No, just couple simple things. Right. That you will stick to. Start there and you can add to it, because as what happens in chaos is, like you said, is it disperses all this energy, and then it's like you're tired, your time disappears. Right. That's a really common thing, is like, where did all the time go? Right. That's one of when you're in chaos and your time is just disappearing. Well, when you become more focused, you'll actually have more time. And as you clean up the chaos, you'll have more time. So if you try to do it from a really chaotic state and institute this extreme order, you're just not going to have time for anything. Right. So, but you start small, you will create more time, believe it or not. And then you'll add in a little thing here, a little thing there, and you'll add in more and more things to it.
Well, your brain is very happy when things are completed, which is why all the psychologists say, complete things, do things. It is true. It's happy. But if you're doing too much, trying to complete too much, again, it's like it's chaos within the chaos.
That's right. Yeah. But you will, if you're in a chaotic state, you will definitely have to put in some self-effort. You could get that ball rolling again, to get the inertia. Because that's one of the things with chaos, is it, like, when people are spinning that much, they're not actually moving. They're just spinning. So there's no momentum. So your wheels are spinning, but the car is not moving.
The car's not moving. The wheels are moving. You're going deeper down into the quicksand.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I like this thought, if we pulled from the universal laws, like the law of polarity, where there is chaos, there must also be order.
Yeah, it's funny. That's one of the axioms in the Jedi Code. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, look at me. I did not, but apparently I just channeled it.
Don't ask me why I know that, but they talk about between order or harmony. They refer to it as harmony, but harmony and chaos.
Yeah. It has to be.
You're right. Law of polarity. It's always there.
The eye of the storm too, and I think that in one of the things I do and certainly work with my clients is, what's the next thing that we do? What's the next step?
Yeah.
What do you have? What do you have access to? Know your supply and take that next step.
Complete next. Complete next.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's really powerful. Internally is really where it starts. So, but externally, you can when you start to clean it up externally, you'll start to clean it up internally, because it is kind
Vice
of a
versa,
mirror.
Right?
Yeah. Like, how much better did you feel when you did your closets? Let's talk about the closets. Okay,
the closets. We Marie Kondo and I have one, and here's the truth. So Nick went full on, right? Which
in classic Nick fashion.
Yeah, which just left me like, shit, I'm behind. So then I did my drawers, which gave me an immediate feeling of, look what I did. This is amazing. And then the next weekend I did my closet. And it's just, schedule wise, I couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, you did awesome.
I did. And there's another closet next week in the other room, in Zoe's room. There is something, we do always talk about inside out. What's happening in us, we're creating externally. We cannot ignore that what is in our external world will affect us internally. So chicken, egg, whatever, it starts from inside, yet we can heal and calm the inside by working on the external.
That's right. And vice versa. What's happening inside is happening outside.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I think it starts inside. Yeah. I do. But as we create order externally, it creates some order internally, because we're in it too. We're in the act of creating order.
Yeah.
We're so cleaning. If you're decluttering, it's an amazing exercise. And not just that, you will feel accomplished. And space-wise, that Marie Kondo's not joking around, man. You'll feel the difference in your room, in your house. It's incredible.
Yeah, I loved it. Like I loved it. I thought it was so awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for you. I couldn't care if
we did the books,
do it or don't do it.
We did all of Zoe's books, our books, lots of books.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
Oh, every time I walk in my workspace now, I feel so good being in there, and I've still got a ways to go because papers are next.
Oh dear. And so and it's a principle of prosperity as well. Declutter, make space to receive. So if we are in chaos, creating chaos, where is there just too much stuff in our life, in our head, in our world, and we've got to declutter and make space.
Yeah. It begs the question of like, how and where do we create that in ourselves? Right. So one way, like you said, is not completing things.
Right.
Another way that really shuts down creativity is when you get a lot of ideas come through and then you just leave them in your head.
Don't write them down.
Yeah. You got to get them out of your head. Even if it's just onto a sheet of paper that goes in a folder, your little parking lot
or whatever,
somewhere. It needs to get out of your head. It'll keep the energy moving, because otherwise it'll clutter up your head, and then you'll feel crappy because you'll have like a million things that you want to do that are just not happening because there's no sense of priority.
Right.
So that's another one. One of the big ones though is getting sucked into everybody else's conversation.
Yeah.
That is super confusing.
When you leave your lane and you don't take on people's stuff, it's not your gig.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think it happens on social media all over the place.
Yeah.
If you go on social media, unless you have so carefully curated your list, you're going to see people say weird stuff that very much disagrees with what you believe in.
True.
Like, I guarantee it. Right. And I think there's like such a draw to like, no, like I need to fix that, or I need to correct that, or I need to say something about, and it's just, there's really no need for that.
Right.
I don't know of very many people's minds who have been changed by anything significant from a Facebook post.
Unless you go in with absolute love and kindness.
And not caring, no attachment to the outcome.
Just like, maybe I can do something here and then get out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's coming from ego, need to be right, need to not be right. This whole thing, it just gets so sticky.
That's the best one. So perfectly put.
So stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane and really stay in your, I mean that like, so your lane is not as big as you think, right? It really isn't.
Yeah.
It's a, what is that in the Bible? Straight is the way and narrow is the gate. Right? Your lane is not that wide, right? You're here. It's not that you just have one thing to do, but you are a very unique individual with a very unique ability.
Right.
And if you were to just stay in the lane with that, you will go so far.
This is so true.
Right. And just do what you're here to do.
In an orderly fashion.
Yes.
Okay.
Because when you're fighting against, because what's happening, this is really interesting energetics, actually. I think it's just fascinating. Like, I watch this in our world and I watch it play out. I'm just endlessly fascinated by it. We see something, or we see some sort of injustice or something that we don't agree with, and we go to try to change it, right? And fight against it. But what you wind up doing with those, especially with and pretty much all of them are bigger entities energetically, is you actually just wind up fueling it.
Yes.
It's the same way that if you've got a Facebook post, it doesn't matter if they're all lovers or all haters underneath it.
They're fueling your post.
It's fueling the post, and it's giving it that, it'll keep bumping it up because it sees the engagement. Well, the energy in these entities works the same way. I don't mean that in like spirits or anything. I just mean like, okay, you're going to go fight the government. All right, cool. Like, if that's your mission, go fight the government. But that is a huge energetic container that you will likely just wind up feeding with your own energy.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got it to give, go. If that's your mission, go. But if you don't, you're going to wind up, if you're not really well taken care of yourself, if you don't have the financial resources to do it, and other resources to do it, you're going to wind up just feeding that entity that
not yourself
with everything that you have, and you're the one who will take the hit.
Look, we can use as an example any arguments in the family, right? If you guys are like having whatever spats or somebody else, or like I love feeding my happy hour from high school with loving joy and fun. So if we're feeding other people's conversations or where we disagree, it's like, we're leaving our lane.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
That's right. That's right. Help the people you're here to help.
Help the people you're here to help, and really take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Any other tips to bust the chaos?
Well, staying in your own lane is huge for it. It keeps everything so much more clean. Emotionally, there's a lot of upheaval,
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see people going through it. I've certainly had my moments.
Right.
And when you get into the ups and downs, it can have a really emotional, chaotic pattern. Like 1 minute, you know, it's kind of like Michigan weather, you know, like 1 minute it's beautiful and sunny, and the next minute it's like a tornado is coming through, and then it's snowing in the evening. So all those different emotional things that you're going through like that is another indicator. I don't really think it's wise to try to solve emotions from the level of emotions, but when you see yourself going through that, it's a really good indicator that, hey, wait a second, I need to slow down here.
Yes.
And get grounded and really look at what's going on.
Yeah.
So that you can have more objectivity towards it, for one, because when you're swept up in it, you're not objective.
Right.
You're being the emotion, and you're not the emotion. And you're also not having the objectivity to choose something different for yourself.
Right.
To actively choose something different and take an action.
Because we do have the power to choose something different.
Yeah. We have the power to choose our emotions.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people forget. So let that be an indicator. Like when you see your emotions start to go all over the map, that's a really good indicator that chaos is occurring.
And in your thought flow.
Yeah. And you want to go back to the thought flow. That's not necessarily an easy thing to do, but it's a really, really good indicator to pay attention to.
Well, I would love to offer that even when it feels impossible, to grab a few moments of stillness and quiet. And gratitude would be the only emotion. I mean, love and gratitude can soothe, right? So when we can tap into something that we are grateful for, it really shifts the energy and the emotion.
Oh, huge. Yeah. Yeah. And it does come back to, like, it comes back to those sense of routine,
right?
You know, the sense of routine that we create. Meditation is huge, you know, meditative practices. Gratitude, you know, meditating on gratitude. It doesn't have to be a long time. It's not like you got to sit down for an hour.
It does not.
You can sit down for 5 minutes or 2 minutes and do that, and it will shift your energy. And then all the little energy practices that you do throughout the day to keep yourself clean and clear, moving. You know, that's another reason that they're so adamant, not just for your physical immune system with movement, but is for your overall energy and well-being.
It breaks up some of that sticky energy.
Exactly.
To move.
Right. Because when think about a log jam. Okay. So the logs are flowing down the river, and then they get all jammed up, right? And they're chaos in that state, and they can't move. But when you start to get everything to move, it starts to flow, right? Yeah. So you start to write all of the little jams in there and find that, you know, find the things that'll let it move. And then it goes. Well, your energy is the same way. When you've got chaos going on, everything gets stuck. Right. Feels super heavy. You'll feel tired, like all those things that we talked about. And just moving your physical body starts to get the energy moving. It starts to break up those jams. And then you start to move. So it's never just one thing either. When you have chaos in your life, you want to start to find and get back to all the simple things that you know already work for you, and start doing them.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, my illuminated thought for today is, where there's chaos, there's order. So seek the order.
I love it. You're like a Jedi. Look at you with the Jedi coat.
If only you could see the flames over here, everyone. If you need help busting more chaos, make sure you reach out to hello@illuminationpodcast.com. Nick has some energy mastery trainings. I certainly have some great meditations for you. And most of all, please feel free to share this episode with people that you know it would help, that you love, that you care. And thank you, as always, for being our listeners. We so appreciate you.
Namaste.
Peace. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.